Hey everybody, welcome to the Real United States and welcome to another installment of Q&A USA. And yes, we have decided to go ahead and keep that title. Everybody seemed relatively enthusiastic about it and it's kind of catchy, so why not? I've got just a few questions this week, so hopefully this will be a little briefer than maybe some of the ones in the past. But let's start off with, got a question all the way from Germany, from Eusebio 1957. That's my buddy Ettore over there in Germany. Ettore, how you doing? And he's asking, who cooks at home, me or Beverly? Well, we're both relatively accomplished cooks. So Beverly does probably the majority, the lion's share of the cooking at home. I do cook. It's the division of labor at our house is whoever has the time to do the chore. So usually it falls to Beverly to do the majority of the cooking, but I certainly do my fair share. When we're doing something more elaborate, then I will usually do the bulk of the cooking on that. If it's some kind of like really detailed dish that has a lot of involved steps. Not that Beverly isn't capable of doing those things. It's just usually when we get to that point, I get pretty heavily involved, and sometimes we, struggle for control of the kitchen. But right now, here in the D.C. area, Beverly's taken the responsibility for the vast majority of the cooking. It's just a schedule thing. She has a little more time to devote to that than I do. So, but we certainly both cook, which. As it relates to the theme of the channel, real life in the USA, is kind of a dying art. More and more people are just not eating at home. The grocery stores, certainly still do a good trade, but the restaurants have cropped up in the last couple of decades ad infinitum and are always packed. So I think that fewer and fewer people, despite the popularity of televised cooking shows and whatnot, fewer people are really cooking at home than did when we were young folks or when we were children. So it's I guess we take some pride in the fact that we not only cook, but we're relatively accomplished in the kitchen. So hopefully that answers your question. We both cook, but right now Beverly's doing the majority of it. So thanks a lot, Ettore. I got a new subscriber, follower, relatively new, Pierre Simonson. Pierre, it's nice to hear from you. Pierre's from Sweden, and he has an interesting question. He wants to know if I use Facebook groups for a particular city that Bev and I go to visit. And you'll see a lot of these. You knew you grew up in such and such, or you're from such and such. And he wants to know if I use, Facebook groups as a way of promoting a video from a certain place or of finding material. And we have, but not extensively. I do belong to the group from the small town in Michigan that I grew up in, and we've utilized that just because it's the hometown. But largely, no. I do follow some from some sites here on Facebook that are dedicated to Washington, D.C., and we get updates from them, but I don't make a habit of posting to them. Now, it's a good idea and perhaps something that I should look into more, so I do appreciate you bringing that up, but it's not something I have utilized extensively to this point. So, Pierre, I appreciate you writing that question. This next one is from Superman 21986, longtime subscriber and viewer, and he was apparently surprised when I mentioned, I think it was in the last Q&A USA, that my granddaughter had worked with us and hosted an episode, and he was surprised that I had a granddaughter. I have granddaughters, plural, and grandsons. I was, in this particular instance, I was referring to my eldest granddaughter, and you were wondering how old she is. She's 16 years old. She has her driver's license. She's a young woman. So, yeah, I'm I was a child groom, so I got started early. But yeah, I have multiple granddaughters and grandsons, and very proud of Elizabeth. She's doing very well, and I was very pleased to have her host episode 75. So, yep, I have grandkids. Next we have Firdos Idros. And dude, I'm really sorry if I am screwing up that name, but I do the best I can. So, a couple of questions here. He wants to know if I'm into photography as well, meaning as well as videography. We shoot a lot of stills, but we shoot them with the still image function on the video camera. This particular camera that we're using right now has a 24 megapixel still image camera built into it. Does a very nice job. It's a little hard to manhandle when you're taking photos, but it does a very nice job. So we aren't into still photography with like a DSLR and native lenses and those sorts of things, but used to be. Because as a journalist, and I used to write for trade magazines, not newspapers, we shot a lot of photography that would accompany technical articles. I wrote largely about technical subjects, and I would shoot film in those days. So now we use this camera or one of the other Sony cameras that we have to shoot still images. And those are largely to share with our fans on our Facebook page or just for our own personal consumption. I haven't published any photos in a long time. I used to publish a lot of photos when I wrote for trade journals. Not so much anymore, but you never know. And if I do, that's probably how it'll be. We'll probably shoot 24 megapixel pictures with this. So the other question, and this one's a little amusing. What kind of sports did you enjoy during your youth? Not a real athlete. Never have been. I ran track 1 year in high school. That's the only organized sport that I participated in schools. My thing was I was a member of the debate team. I was in the marching band and the concert band. So yeah, I was one of those kids that the rest of you picked on. The band geek that was in debate club. So, but I'm never really a big sportsman, although, I mean, not in terms of team sports and those sorts of things. Always have been something of an avid fisherman. I do enjoy fishing, although anymore we don't get the time to go that I would like to. We've talked about it recently, and if I do, you can be sure I'm going to take the camera and the tripod so you can see it. But we have not had the opportunity recently to go out and throw a hook in the water. But Beverly and I both enjoy fishing, so that's a sport. So I mean, that would be probably the one that I would be most associated with as a young fellow. But I've never been like a football player or basketball player or anything like that. I usually devoted myself more to academics when I was in school. Yeah, I can hear what you're all calling me right now. That's fine. Just knock yourselves out. So one more question from Beverly's back there trying to choke down a laugh, by the way. Another question from Superman 21986 about me. Will I ever visit a Symphony Center? I'm taking this to mean an orchestra hall. Possibly, but not likely. Because usually professional orchestras, while the music is not copyrighted, it's usually public domain because of the age of the composition, the performance is. And as most of you watching this know, YouTube is very stringent on copyright protection. And personally, I think that's a good thing that they're. So if it was a non-professional orchestra, perhaps we do enjoy going to hear an orchestra or even a concert band. Beverly and I have often been to hear concert bands, community concert bands, professional concert bands, or like the United States Air Force Band, United States Marine Corps Band. Those have been, but again, there's perhaps if it was something like the United States Air Force Band or something like that, we might be able to video that without any copyright problems, because those are service people in the normal discharge of their duties. It isn't anything that's on our radar right now, but it's certainly an interesting idea. I don't know how well it would play to everyone else out there, but certainly food for thought. So that's about the best I can answer that for you at this time. So I want to thank everybody for joining us here on another installment of Q&A USA. Please continue to write in your questions. I'm loving this. I hope that I'm answering everybody satisfactorily. If you've got more questions either about me or about life in the United States, if those of you that are overseas, and the vast majority of our subscribers are, viewers are, by all means, if there's something you want to know about real life in the United States, send it in. If I can answer it, I will. I'll certainly give it my best shot. So thank you very much. You want to just say hi, whatever, write it down in the comments section below. I love hearing from everybody, you know that. And I try to get back to everybody I can. And as always, thank you for watching.